Our next speaker is Barbara Duckett. Since 1966, she's worked for the Social Security Administration in various capacities, including service representative, Social Security, claims rep, supervisor of training, a specialist in area analysis and public affairs specialist. She's going to talk to us today about Social Security Administration disability programs. This is something close to my heart since it was my first job out of college. I was a Social Security disability examiner. And so Barbara, welcome.
Thank you. Okay.
The red dot gets you there.
And
You can advance it this way. Okay, perfect.
thank you very much for having me. Today I want to tell you, hopefully, everything you ever wanted to know about Social Security's disability programs. So, yeah, in 40 minutes or less. Okay, Social Security has 4 types of disability programs. One is for the actual worker. We have Social Security that is for disabled children. Example, my uncle was born blind and has never been able to work, so he has gotten benefits off my grandfather's record his whole life. We have SSI income, or supplemental security income, and this is a program that's managed by Social Security, but the money that's paid for SSI benefits does not come out of the Social Security Trust Fund. It actually comes out of general tax revenue. And then the other program I want to talk about is not on the slideshow, but it's for disabled widows and widowers. So I will also cover that. If I go past it and I forget to stop there, point me back and I'll address it. Okay, to qualify for Social Security's disability based on your work, you have to have a recent connection to the workforce. So for somebody over the age of 31, that means you have to have worked 5 of the last 10 years before you became disabled. And we do have special rules that apply for younger people, for people who became disabled before the age of 31. And so, of course, the amount of work you need depends on how old you were before you became disabled. If you became disabled before the age of 24, you need to have basically a year and a half worth of work, or 6 quarters of coverage. If you became disabled between the age of 24 and 31, you need to have worked half of the time between the time you were 21 and the age you became disabled. Basically, that rule holds pretty true, because once you hit age, 31 or older, that's still base 31, you need 10 years of work, because that's the difference between 31 and age 21. And so to get the work credits, you have to work. Every year that the dollar amount changes for how much work it takes to earn a credit. And on the back table there behind the, kind of over there by the door, I have a Social Security update flyer, and it tells you that in 2014 you have to earn $1,200 to get 1 quarter of coverage. You have to have a minimum of $4,800 in the year to get 4 quarters of coverage. Of course, you can only get 4. After you've got your 4 quarters, you've maxed out. How much are you going to be entitled to in disability benefits? Let's see, how many people do we have in here? Probably about 40. Probably 40 different answers. So what we do is we take your lifetime earnings and then we average it, and that is what your benefits are based on, is a percentage, generally about 40% of the work you've done over your lifetime. How do you know where you're at? When's the last, see that Social Security benefit statement there? When's the last time you got one of those in the mail? It's been a while. Social Security had a choice about 3 or 4 years ago. They could furlough some of our employees and we wouldn't have people to process the claim, or we could stop sending the benefit statements. And so they chose to stop sending the benefit statements. It saves $17 million a year not to send them. However, we have made them available to you online, and I'm going to cover that before the end of the presentation and tell you how easy it is to do it. Basically, it takes about 5-10 minutes of your time if you're comfortable on a computer. So if somebody is getting, sorry, I don't see really good out of my right eye, so I have to keep turning around to see where we are on the slideshow. If you're over the age of 18 and you're entitled to Social Security benefits, and it is lower than $721, which is the highest SSI payment we can pay this year, you could be duly entitled, which means you'll get your Social Security benefit, and then we could pay you up to the difference up to $721, so you could get both. There's actually some advantages in that, because if you get SSI, it also entitles you to Medicaid, which is available through the state. Social Security has the toughest standard for disability of anybody. We don't do partial disability, and we don't do temporary disability. To be disabled for Social Security, you have to have a disability severe enough that you are totally 100% unable to work, at least and earn substantial gainful activity, which is right around $1,000 a month. So you must not be able to work and earn more than that. And it has to be expected to last at least 1 year or be so severe that it results in death. Now, if you're found disabled by Social Security standards, you are not the only person in your family who will be entitled to benefits. We also pay benefits to a spouse if they're at least age 62. If you have minor children, we can pay the children until they hit age 18 or graduate from high school, whichever comes last. And the graduate from high school is up to age 19 and 2 months. In certain cases, we can pay stepchildren or even grandchildren. And if you are married to somebody for at least 10 years and then divorced, and they're at least age 62, they could potentially be eligible for benefits on your record. Just so I can kind of get a feel of the audience, how many of you are receiving Social Security benefits now? Okay. How many of you are still working? Okay. How many do we have over the age of 62? Okay, over the age of 66, full retirement age? Okay, interesting. Okay, we also pay, like I said before, benefits to children who were disabled before the age of 22. So if you have a child, if you're getting Social Security benefits and you have a child who became disabled before the age of 22, they could potentially be eligible for benefits. Some examples of this are somebody with like Down syndrome, or like my uncle who's blind, just a child that will never be able to work. The child also has to be unmarried. If that child marries, that door is permanently shut, unless they marry somebody who's also on Social Security disability benefits. Whoops. Medicare coverage. And when I talk to people in groups like yourself, the benefits are nice, but the biggest concern is Medicare. Medicare benefits, for the most part, start after the 25th month, which is exactly 2 years after your date, after you become entitled to Social Security disability benefits. You don't have to apply separately for Medicare. As what happens is when you hit that 25 months, a couple of months before, we're going to send you a Medicare card in the mail. It'll have the Part A, the Part B. We're assuming that you want Part B. That's not always true. If you don't want Part B, let's say you are covered by a group health plan of a working spouse, or then you can send back the card, tell us you want to delay taking the Part B, and we'll send you an amended card that just shows Part A. There are other parts of Medicare. Medicare Part C, those are the Medicare Advantage plans. And what we do is we basically enroll you by your choice. You pick the program into a PPO plan. And so what we do is we take your Medicare premiums and what you what we would consider the value of the Part A, and then we pay it to somebody. In state of Nevada, we have Humana, we have Senior Dimensions, we have CareMore. If you want to see which Medicare Advantage plans are available in your area, you would go to the Medicare.gov website, put in your zip code, and it will give you the list of Advantage plans in your area. You would want to compare the plans if this is something you're interested in. Make sure you pick one that covers your needs, and you can talk to them. Make sure they're going to cover your need, and then you have the option to pick up that plan. A lot of people find that they get more bang for their Medicare buck by becoming enrolled in one of these Medicare plans. And then the last part of Medicare is your Medicare Part D, which is your prescription drug plan. The other thing is, if you are low income, you can apply for extra help to help pay for your Medicare Part D. And if you qualify for one of these extra help plans, that dreaded donut hole actually goes away. So if you're low income, I highly encourage you to apply for the extra help. Okay, I don't have it on my slide talking about the disabled widows and widowers, but I'm going to talk about that too. If you haven't worked yourself and were married to at least 10 years, well, no, you don't have to have been married for at least 10 years. If you were currently married and when your spouse passed away and were married for at least 9 months, then you were married to somebody for at least 10 years, divorced, and then they passed away, you could be entitled to disabled widows or widowers benefits. And you can apply for them as early as age 50. Now this isn't based on your work, this is actually based on the work of a former spouse. And then it's basically the same rules for all of our disability programs. You have to have a disability that's severe enough that stops you from working for at least 1 year. And you have to be currently not married if you're age 50. After age 60, we actually disregard any marriages, and then we give you the benefit that you're going to get the higher benefit from. Okay, SSI, this is a different type of program. The others are based on your work. SSI is generally for somebody who hasn't worked and hasn't paid into Social Security. In order to qualify for SSI, you have to have, the big thing is that low income and low resources. We pay SSI benefits to somebody who's blind regardless of their age, somebody who's disabled regardless of their age, or if they have low income, low resources, and they're an American citizen, somebody over the age of 65. The resource limits, pretty strict. You can't own more than $2,000 in resources for an individual that's single. If you're married, we're going to look at you and your spouse's resources, and you can't go over $3,000. And then we're going to look at your income. Okay, things we count for resources: bank accounts, investments, IRAs, a vehicle, a home that you don't live in, any property that you own that you don't live in, liquid assets, mattress, cash under your mattress. There are things we don't count. We don't count the home that you live in, the first vehicle that you drive, and generally we count the most expensive vehicle. If you do have excess resources that are making you so that you're ineligible, you can always use them to prepay for your burial expenses, and then we don't count them. We also pay SSI benefits to children. So we have 1-pound babies that are born premature that we'll pay benefits for, and we have people over 100 that we pay benefits for with SSI. With children, is what we do is we look at the parents' assets. And if they have more, for a child, we're going to allow $2,000 for them that they can't go over. If they have one parent in the household, then allow an extra $2,000 in resource, and if they have 2 parents in the household, we allow an extra $3,000 in resources. And then we look at the income of the parents. And when we look at income, we have earned income and unearned income. Unearned income, such as pensions, VA benefits, royalties, cash that somebody just gives you, gambling winnings, we count that. Other than $20, we count it dollar for dollar. When you have income that's from work, we actually count less than half of it. So we try to make it so we don't disadvantage people who try to work. And for children, we count the same type of resources that we count for adults. Then once a child turns 18, for an adult, the criteria we use to see if they're disabled is, are you able to work? Obviously, we can't use that same criteria for children. So with children, we say, do you have the same functional capacity as other children? And it's kind of interesting how it comes. I've had children that's applied for benefits who are missing a limb and been denied. And then you see other children who have ADHD and some things like that, and they get approved. So never fully understood the logic of that. Then when the child turns age 18, is what we do is we fill them a continuing disability review. We check them under adult standards, and if they meet the disability criteria for an adult, then the benefits continue. The advantage of the advantage of SSI is you are also qualified for Medicaid. With Medicare, there's that 2-year wait where the Medicare doesn't start. Frankly, we understand what a hardship that is. Social Security employees would love to see that turned around, but from the day that Social Security for disability was signed into law, there's always been that 2-year wait. With Medicaid, they actually started immediately, so there's some advantages to the SSI. But I understand now, and I am not a big expert on Obamacare, but that's everything I've heard about it. The thing I like best is folks who are waiting for that 2 years for the Medicare to kick in. I understand there's a provision of Obamacare that kicks in for that 2 years. I'm sure you have to pay for it, but at least you have something that's available. Okay, how do you apply for disability? There's many ways. You can just first walk into an office and they'll generally take your claim. You can call the office or the 800 number and schedule an appointment. But honestly, the best way to do it is to file online. If you were to call and ask for an appointment with my office right now, the wait is just about 60 days. We are off the calendar. Yeah. It used to be 30 days. We couldn't keep up with it. Now it's 60 days and we're still not keeping up with it. However, if you apply online, you do the application on the computer, and it is really very user-friendly. Once you hit the submit button, the claim is pulled into the local Social Security office the next day. If you are applying for SSI, one of the questions on the application is, do you want us to call and take an SSI application? SSI is so complex they can't do it over the computer. They actually have to take the claim. So you just say yes if you want to file for SSI. Within the next couple of days, you'll get a call. So by filing online, you're basically moving things along by 2 months. And you can also go online, check the status. If they need something from you that you failed to submit, when you check the status, it'll tell you, we need this form, we need this, we need that. We've sent it to DDS. It tells you every step of the way where it's at. So there's a lot of advantages to filing online. The other advantage is you don't have to do it all in one setting, but you know exactly what's going on. So you cannot give us too much information. Tell us every little thing that's going on. A lot of times if you have one disability, it may not be enough. But Yeah, I've been talking to a couple of people. You have the fatigue, you have all different types of things. Make sure you list everything that is going on, because in conjunction, everything rolled together might be enough to make the difference. So don't say this isn't important or that isn't important, because it might be important. Okay, what do you need when you file? What are we going to ask you? Right now, finally, it took years, but they finally married the application and the disability report. On the application, it's going to ask you things like, are you married? Do you have children? Have you worked in the last year? Because we need to know if we need to look for additional earnings, more of the technical information. And then when you finish that, it rolls you right into the disability report. First, it's going to ask you to tell us your disability, what your symptoms are. Give us somebody we can contact for additional information. It's going to ask the names of your doctors, any hospitals you've been in, any clinics that you've been seeing. And it's what we need that for, is we're actually going to contact those doctors and we're going to get the medical records from them. We're going to ask you what type of work you've done, because part of the application process is to show that you can no longer do the type of work that you have done in the past. So we're going to ask how much standing you did, how much bending, how much lifting, etc. So we can make a determination if you're still able to do that type of work, or if you're able to do a similar type job. So if you were a construction worker who has never learned to type, we're not going to come back and say, okay, well, I think you could be a secretary. We're going to look at your work experience, and we're going to look at your education, and we're going to line those up with what we think you can or cannot be able to do. We're going to ask for medical tests, blood tests. Who else has information that might be helpful, such as an attorney or a psychiatrist? And don't forget, it's not just physical limitations, we're also looking for mental. So if you've been diagnosed with depression, make sure you throw that in. I mean, it's part of it. That's also a disability, and you want us to look at that also. And then the last piece of it is the Form 827, which is the authorization to release medical records. They've also just barely made it so you can do a click and sign if you're filing online. We used to have that wet signature and have to send it into us separately. Within the last couple of years, we've been able to just accept it where you've clicked and signed, and the doctors will accept it. But without this, the doctors are not allowed to give us your medical information, and this is you giving permission to the doctors to share your medical information with us, because with the privacy laws, they can't do it without that 827. And I tend to get ahead of myself. If you have a disabled child, you can also file online for them, for SSI, but with them, the only thing you're doing is the child's disability report. Then we pull that in, we'll call you, and then we'll take the rest of the SSI claim over the phone. With the widow's benefits or widower's benefits, the same thing. You complete the disability form online and the disability application, and we may come back and tell you right off the bat that you are disabled under your own work, but we're still going to go in and we're going to look to see if you're entitled under a spouse's or if it's just SSI. So you still need to go through that process. And that's where in remarks you'd put, okay, I understand I'm not disabled on my own record, but I want to file for widow's benefits. And then when you get that denial letter, if you filed for Social Security disability and you haven't worked and so you're not covered for that, don't panic when you get that initial denial. Read it and make sure it's denying all claims, because it might deny the Social Security disability because you haven't worked enough. However, we're still working on the SSI claim, and it's being sent off to DDS to be reviewed. So after you complete it, you hit the submit. If we need anything else from you, we're going to call you within the next couple of days. And then the next step is we send it to the disability determination section. And these are state agencies. So every state has their own agency. And it takes them an average of 120 to 160 days to complete that first, to make that final decision. If you're allowed, you're going to get a letter from them telling that you're allowed and your benefits will start on such and such a day. If it's SSI, we may need to contact you. We'll send an appointment letter to update your record. If you're denied, you'll get a letter telling you you were denied and why. And here's the really important part. You have 60 days to file an appeal. And here's what I see quite often. People will get that denial and they'll think, oh, I didn't get it, I'm going to go try back to work, and they try, and then another year passes and they still can't work, and so then they're filing another claim. The secret is if you get denied and you feel like we made the wrong decision and you do meet the disability criteria, file an appeal. Keep that claim alive. So if you're denied the first time, you would file an appeal, and we're going to send it back to DDS, for the state agency, and it's going to go to a totally different set of people, and they're going to reopen that claim. And you have the right to send them additional information. You can file an appeal online. It's also very easy to file it online. So let's say that it's going to take them another, 4 to 6 months to make the decision. If you get another denial, then you're going to file a request for a hearing in front of a law judge. Don't drop the ball. File that appeal. Now you're going in front of a law judge where you can generally speak to him, plead your case, let him know what's going on. You don't have to have an attorney. Is it helpful? I honestly can't say whether it's helpful to have an attorney or not, but you do always have the right to get an attorney. If you do and you win your case, they're going to take 25% of your back pay. So just look at that when you make the decision. So now with the attorney or with the law judge, it's taking just about a year for the decisions on them. If you get a denial there, actually probably more cases are overturned at the hearing level than anywhere. That's the highest probability that you're going to get an allowance. About 1/3 of the cases that we see are allowed on the initial claim. But if you see some of the claims we see, it really shouldn't be much higher than that, because we see some pretty silly stuff. We walk a pretty fine line, because we want to make sure that everybody who is disabled and entitled to the benefit gets them, but we also want to make sure that we're not using that, the Social Security Disability Program isn't being used as a unemployment benefit after your unemployment runs out. So we want it to go to the people who's supposed to have it. We really do. I mean, the joke we use is somebody's in here filing with a hangnail, but we almost see stuff that silly. Now, like I said earlier, we're going to contact your doctors and your medical people, and we're going to get your medical records. And if we have enough there, we're going to make the disability decision based on your medical records. When I say we, I mean the state agency. If we don't have enough to make a firm decision, then we may schedule an appointment with one of our examiners or with one of the state examiners, and they'll have you come see their doctor to get additional medical information. Now, if you file a hearing and it's denied, your next step is the Appeals Council review. As what we do there is they send your case to Falls Church in Virginia. They're going to review the case. They can look at the medical records, they're going to look at all that, but they're also going to make sure that the law judges followed all their rules. They may dismiss it out of hand, they may kick it back to the law judge to look at again, or they may just overturn it and award you the benefits. So, and then your final step is if you're appealed at or denied at the Appeals Council review is a civil case, and that's where you're basically suing Social Security. I don't see it happen very often, about every year we have 1 or 2 cases in this valley where they sue Social Security and they win, and we go back and we reverse it and we pay it back to when you first filed for benefits. So, you know, it doesn't get to that point very often, but, you know, sometimes it does. Okay, like I said, if your claim's allowed, you'll get a letter from us telling it's allowed, when your benefits will start, how much your benefits will be. And then if it's denied, we send you a letter telling you it's denied and why. If you file the appeal, use the internet, it's much easier. And the other big reason, you file it on the internet, it is tracked every step of the way. You have control of it, we have control of it, it doesn't get lost in the mail, doesn't get lost in somebody's inbox, and it is extremely easy. And to request an appeal online or to file a claim online, go to Social Security, www.socialsecurity.gov, and there are links to disability. You can file the claim, you can file the appeal. Pretty much anything you need to do with the appeal, with the claims process, you'll do there. Social Security, like I said, is working very hard to improve the disability process. We have what we call the quick disability determinations. We haven't had that for very long, maybe about 5-6 years, but what we've done here is cases that have a real high probability they're going to be allowed, we're going to fast track them through the system, and instead of taking the 4 to 6 months to be allowed, we're going to just make a quick determination and get it moving faster and get you into pay faster. The other thing is the compassionate allowances. That is based on things like acute leucoma, Down syndrome, end-stage renal disease, Lou Gehrig's disease, some of these things that, you know, are just kind of black and white, you're disabled, so we'll speed those up. The other one that's just been added to this list is the wounded warriors. So if VA has already come back and said you are 100% disabled, we don't 100% adopt the claim, but that decision, but we take it very serious. So we're going to look at that, and if we say, yep, they got it right, which we will most of the time, not 100% of the time, but most of the time, then we can, once again, fast track the claim and get you into pay pretty quickly. We've hired a bunch of new law judges. They've opened up central hearings in the central office. So we're trying to do things to make it better for you, because there for a while we had people dying waiting to get through the law judge. It was taking 2 to 3 years. We have made great strides in speeding that up. Still can take a year, but it's not taking the 3 and 4 that it was taking before. The other thing they're doing is they've developed a task force that's looking for fraudulent claims. And so they'll look at trends. And we're actually, because we just recently got hit by some pretty big groups filing fraudulent claims, there were trends that just, you know, told us that these were fraudulent claims when we got to looking at them. So we're actually kind of sending all of our claims through this just to make sure that we are protecting your tax, your Social Security tax dollars, and we are paying benefits to people who deserve it and not people who are trying to scam us. On that table back there, I left you a sheet giving you instructions to sign up for a My Social Security account. How many of you have done that already? Okay, I'm going to try and get a commitment out of the rest of you to go home and sign up for an account. There is so much valuable information. I talked about the benefit statement that we're not mailing anymore. This is how you get it. You go online, you create a My Social Security account. It'll take you 5 to 10 minutes. Then you just click the button that you want the statement, and you've got it. You can pull it up, you can look at it, you can print it, you can save it to your computer, however you want to do it. And frankly, I would rather get my information that way than having it come through the mail and get misdirected to somebody else's mailbox or stolen out of my mailbox or whatever. So it is a safer, quicker way of getting it. So how many can I get a commitment to go home and do that? Thank you. And then the rest, once you start receiving benefits, it does even more for you. If you ever need an income verification letter or proof of your Medicare, you can print the verification letter, and it's just as easy as getting the statement. You go in, you have your account created already, you just put in your username, password, click on the benefit verification, and you've got it. The only thing you need is a valid email address. You have to be at least 18 years old and you have to have an email address. If you don't have an email address, there's always Google, Yahoo. It's very easy to create one. And then once you start getting benefits, it's what you can do is you can get the income letter, like I said before. If you move and you need to change your address or your phone number, you can do that online. If you need to change your bank, you can do that instead of coming in or calling the 800 number. Takes seconds. If you need to replace your Medicare card, you can order a replacement card online or replace a 1099. Once again, you can do it online. Sure. Okay. Oh, lots of questions. Okay. Okay, we already kind of with the statement, the information you get on the statement, what you can get at, say, if you're looking at retirement benefits, what you get at 62, what you get at full retirement age, what you get at 70, what your family members are entitled to if you have a spouse or dependent children, what you're entitled to if you should become disabled. It'll let you know if you are insured for disability, if you've worked 5 of the last 10 years. Survivor benefits will let you know if something happens to you, what your survivors would be able to get. How much Medicare tax you've got, whether you're insured for Medicare or not. And we already kind of talked about the verification letter. Very easy to create an account. Go to our website, and I've got a little thing that you can slide in your wallet that's got our website information on it. You click on that little round banner that says My Social Security. You're going to click on Create an Account. You're going to promise to tell us the whole truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth. You're not scamming us, trying to hijack somebody else's. But if you look at the questions we ask, we do a pretty good job of vetting you. If you're not you, we're going to ask you questions that even your evil twin or angry ex-spouse won't know. So we're pretty sneaky. You can ask for an extra level of security. Honestly, you don't need it. It's more, in my opinion, more trouble than it's worth. But if you choose to do it that way, we're going to actually verify your information with Experian, and then anytime you want to make any changes, it's going to send you a text message to your smartphone, and then you have to put a code in, and then you can go in. So if you're really concerned about security, you can do that. Okay, we pretty much talked about that. I've got a whole bunch of pamphlets back there. You can get anything you need, any of our pamphlets you can just get from our website. And now I've got a whole stack of questions here. Let's see. If you go on long-term disability, another one. If you go on long-term disability through your employer, you're required to file with Social Security. Is this application process quicker? Are they always approved? No. So it basically goes through the same process that we would normally go through. If you are getting long-term disability from your state, then if they've approved it, we're going to look at what they considered, and we will consider their application, their decision, but it's not going to necessarily drive our decision. But it'll probably have some weight with us. How far back does the back pay go when approved? So for example, you filed in 2012. For SSI benefits, we actually look at the day you filed your claim. We look at two things, the date you became disabled and the date you filed a claim, and we're going to, but with SSI we can't pay before the date you filed your claim. With Social Security disability, we look at the date you were last able to work. So you may have filed a claim in 2012, but if we look at that and say, okay, you couldn't work past 2011, we'll backdate it. We'll take it back to when you were last able to work. Does that answer that question? If you get a disability, can you return to work later and actually get regular Social Security? Yes. In fact, if you can do that, that's what we want you to do, because it's going to increase your benefits for the rest of your life. So there's 2 benefits. Ooh, I hope I got it back there. It might still be in my bag. I brought a Working While Disabled, How We Can Help. I can't remember setting it on the table, but I have it. Do you have it? Okay, we have it. So that's if you want to try working and still make sure you get disability. It explains all the different things you go through. We have a program called Ticket to Work, where we're actually helping you get back to work, because we realize for you that's the best thing down the road. So did that answer that question? Okay. When a child is low IQ, such as 74, but can work, can they continue to get SSI as they cannot live on their own? I do a lot of the wage inputs for our SSI program here in the local office, and I have a ton of adult children. I mean, they're like 20s, 30s, and they are working in sheltered workshops, and they have IQ such as 74. We have Opportunity Village here that's really big on helping these disabled adult children basically be able to have a function, have a purpose. And so yes, and if they are low IQ and they're working in one of these sheltered workshop, there's actually part of their income that we won't count. So if they have to purchase something in order to get to work, we won't count that. But yeah, we encourage them to. And remember, when it's work, we count less than half. So if somebody was earning $1,000, we would end up counting 435 of it. So instead of the 1,000, so they're dollars ahead, and they still have the SSI, and they still have the Medicaid. The other thing with SSI is there's a program that if you are working and you earn enough that it completely stops your benefits. There's a program through the state that they will continue your Medicaid unless your earnings are just so high that they deem that that program doesn't apply to you. But we try to take all the scary parts out of going back to work and give you protection. With Social Security disability, if you go back to work and you go through all the different levels of the trial work period and the extended period of eligibility, we still have an expedited reinstatement for 5 years after that, to where if your disability returns and and it does have to be the same disability, you're not able to continue working, we will put you right back on the benefits while we send your case back to DDS to see if you're still disabled. So we try to give you the tools to work if you want to. Did I answer that? Yes. Okay. Are there timelines or limits for filing? Within 60 days of your birthday or open enrollment periods on. Are we talking about Medicare with this question? Okay. For Medicare, the answer is yes. If you are not disabled and you're just 65 and you're still working, you have a 7-month window to file for Medicare. 3 months before your birthday, the month of your birthday, and 3 months after. If you miss that, then you have to file during the general enrollment period, which is January through March of each year, and the benefits are not, they don't start until July. Now the scary thing about this is for every year you could have had Medicare Part B and you turned it down, or for every 12 months, there is a 10% penalty for the rest of your life. So when you turn down Medicare or you miss that open enrollment period, be careful. And there's exceptions for every rule. There's the special enrollment period. So let's say you are covered by a group health plan based on your own work or based on a spouse's work. You can delay getting Medicare Part B until that employment ends, and then you have an 8-month window to pick up Medicare Part B, and there's no penalty. So you have 3 different types of enrollment periods. Any questions on that? Yes? Nope, Medicare doesn't start till age 65. Now, if you file for retirement at age 62, at age 65, we just deem that you've enrolled, and at age 65, we send you your card. But Medicare, the only way it'll start before age 65 is if you're disabled, and you get it based on your disability. So, okay, when you look at work that could be done, do you consider a person's age and someone no one is likely to hire? We do consider the age, but it's kind of hard to answer the no one is likely to hire. It depends on why if you are capable of working, we're going to look at that. Example, let's say somebody's released from prison, and because of that they have a hard time finding a job and nobody's willing to hire them. That doesn't contribute to our decision. It doesn't make it more likely that we're going to find them disabled. We're going to look at, are you capable of working? I haven't worked for 20 years. Can I claim what my husband earns at age 62? And how would that affect his at age 70? You can claim your spouse's at age 62 as long as he has filed. So if you're currently married and you're filing on the current spouse's record, he has to file first. Here's one of my favorite claiming strategies. The husband's 66, at least 66, full retirement age. The wife is 62. The husband can file his benefits, suspend them so they can continue to grow until he's 70, but then the wife, and if he has any minor children, can claim at age 62. Do you want to know what negative effect that has on the husband's Social Security? 0. No negative effect. So when you have family members that file benefits on your record, be it a current spouse, an ex-spouse, minor children, it has no negative impact on the worker's record at all, or on what they're going to get. Did that answer that question? Okay. Because PBC is rare, what additional problems do we face? Many small-town doctors do not understand our problems and refuse to acknowledge symptoms. Do we need to see a major medical center or a doctor or Medicare or SS worker? You know, that's hard for me to answer, but I've seen other disabilities where they are just not educated. I would always tell you to use your best judgment, but we're looking at the doctor's medical records, and so if you've got a doctor who's telling us, no, this person isn't disabled, they can work, we're not going to, get another doctor. You need to have somebody who's going to submit medical records to us that says, yes, this person is disabled, because if we don't have it, we're not going to say you're disabled, because the doctor's going to tell us you're not. So I'd take that into consideration. And do you suggest that even youthful workers enroll or sign up for that Social Security statement? Darn right. I've got my kids doing it. My youngest is 33. I've encouraged all my children to do it, because besides telling you what you're going to get when you retire, the other thing that especially younger workers need to work at is it gives you a list of your lifetime earnings. So let's say you've got a 33-year-old and it shows that in 2010 he didn't work, but that person knows they did work. It's way easier for them to bring us proof that they did work now as opposed to waiting until they're 62 and they don't have that proof of earning anymore. So it is important for younger workers also to keep tabs on their benefits statement. Yes?
I can tell all of you, make sure that you do check it. I have a very complicated maiden name, and they misspelled it. And I started working very young, but I was making a significant amount of money because I was on television. And I had to go to the Attorney General of my state to get them to change the spelling to my correct spelling in order to get credit for that income. And so if I hadn't seen it at an early age, I wouldn't have had the verifications with me, just like you were saying, to get that.
Right.
There could be silly things like that, misspellings.
Another thing that can happen is your employer can transpose a number in your Social Security number, so when we get it, it's not a match, so we don't know to give it to you. We're looking at two things when we credit your record: your name and your social security number, and they have to match, and if they don't, they actually go into a suspense file. We can go find them and pull them out, but we need some kind of verification that that's you. Another thing that can happen, most employers are reporting basically with computer tapes. Every once in a while we get a bad tape and we can't read it. So just to protect yourself, make sure your earnings are there. So, we got it? I know I'm pretty close to going over my time, so thank you very much.
Oh, Barbara, that was terrific. Thank you. Well done. And a little piece of hard work there for you, too. That goes with our appreciation.